The great hall of the Zephyrian High Council was silent except for the soft hum of floating displays. Ambassador Kriegsval stood at the center of the circular chamber, his blue-scaled hands trembling slightly as he held the data crystal containing his report. Around him, 7 elder counselors sat on their raised platforms, their 4 eyes fixed on him with growing impatience. "Speak," commanded Elder Voss Tool, the most powerful member of the council. His voice echoed through the hall like rolling thunder. Kriegsval activated the crystal, and holographic images filled the air above them. The images showed a small blue and green planet orbiting a yellow star. "This is the world they call Earth. The humans come from this place. Our scouts have studied them for 3 cycles now." The images changed to show strange bipedal creatures with only 2 eyes and pale skin. They walked upright on 2 legs and had small mouths with white teeth. "They are mammals," Kriegsval continued. "They give birth to live young and feed them milk. They are very primitive compared to us." Elder Nexquin leaned forward on her platform. "How primitive? Do they even have space travel?" "Yes, Elder, but barely. They have only reached the stars in the last 100 of their years. They have colonies on 17 worlds, all in their local systems. Their weapons are chemical explosives and simple energy beams, nothing like our plasma arrays." Another elder, Zachmore, made a dismissive sound. 17 worlds? We control 47 star systems. These humans sound like insects." Kriegsval's expression grew troubled. "Elder, please view the combat records." The images shifted to show human soldiers in battle. The footage came from various conflicts on different worlds. The humans fought with the intensity that made even the Zephyrian scouts uncomfortable. "Watch this," Kriegsval said, highlighting one particular scene. Human soldiers were trapped in a burning building surrounded by enemies with superior weapons. Instead of surrendering, they continued fighting until the last soldier fell. They do not surrender even when defeat is certain. Elder Voss Toll snorted. "Stupidity is not courage." "Perhaps, Elder, but observe this. The images showed human rescue teams searching through the wreckage of destroyed cities for days, never giving up even when the chances of finding survivors were almost 0. They do not abandon their own, ever." Elder Nexquin looked bored. "What does this matter? They are weak." Kriegsval activated another series of images. These showed human military exercises and war games. "They are not weak in strategy, Elder. Look at how they plan their battles. They think many moves ahead. They use deception and misdirection better than any species we have encountered." The council members studied the tactical displays showing human fleet movements and ground operations. The humans showed an understanding of warfare that impressed even the Zephyrian military analysts. "There is something else," Kriegsval said quietly. The hall grew silent. "Our behavioral specialists have studied human history. When their people are killed without cause, especially their young and innocent, they become different." "Different how?" Elder Zachmore asked. "They hunt, Elder. Not for territory or resources. They hunt for revenge. And they never stop. In their own history, they have pursued enemies across entire continents and oceans. They have fought wars that lasted generations. When humans decide someone must pay for the deaths of their people, they do not rest until that debt is collected." Elder Voss Tull laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the chamber. "You want us to fear these soft mammals? Look at them." He gestured at the images. "They have no natural weapons, no claws, no fangs, no armor. They are barely stronger than our younglings." "Elder," Kriegsval said desperately, "their physical weakness is not important. It is their minds that make them dangerous. They are the only species we have found that deliberately makes their military training harder than actual combat. They practice fighting in conditions worse than they expect to face in real war." "Enough," Elder Voss Toll declared. "You sound like a frightened child. These humans have 17 small colonies. We have 47 star systems and the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. If they become a problem, we will simply remove them." Elder Nexquin nodded in agreement. "The ambassador speaks of hunting and revenge as if these creatures could threaten us. We are Zephyrians. We have conquered every species we have encountered." Kriegsval tried one last time. Elders, please consider the recommendation of the Intelligence Division. We should leave these humans alone. Make contact, perhaps establish. Trade, but do not attack them. Our analysts believe that attacking humans, especially their civilians, would be the greatest mistake in Zephyrian history. The 7 elders looked at each other, communicating through the color changes in their scales that served as their private language. After several moments, Elder Vostul spoke for all of them. The High Council has decided. These humans live too close to our expansion routes. Their colonies occupy systems we require for our growing empire. We will remove them quickly, before they can develop better weapons. A fast strike against their largest colony will show them that resistance is pointless. Elder, I must protest, Krixval said, his voice shaking. At least target only military installations. Do not harm their civilians, especially not their young. That would be silence. Elder Vostul's scales flashed bright red with anger. Do not tell the High Council how to conduct war. We will strike where and how we choose. These humans will learn to fear the Zephyrian Empire, or they will cease to exist. The other elders voiced their agreement. Elder Zach Moore was already calling for his military advisors to begin planning the attack. Krixval bowed his head in defeat. As the council commands, which human colony will you target? The agricultural world they call New Denver, Elder Vostul replied. It has 50,000 civilians and minimal defenses. One strike will show all humans the price of standing in our way. As the council session ended and the elders filed out to their private chambers, Krixval remained alone in the great hall. He stared at the holographic images of human families living peacefully on New Denver, knowing that in a few days they would all be dead. He had tried to warn them. The intelligence was clear. Humans were dangerous when attacked without cause. They did not forget. They did not forgive. And they never ever stopped hunting those who harmed their innocent. But the High Council would not listen. Soon, they would learn the truth about humans. Krixval only hoped that when that time came, there would still be a Zephyrian Empire left to regret their decision. Captain Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the first explosion lit up the sky above New Denver. The transport ship Helena shook as the shockwave hit, sending his cup crashing to the floor. Through the bridge windows, he could see 3 massive alien ships dropping out of hyperspace, their hulls gleaming silver against the morning sun. "Red alert!" Morrison shouted into the ship's communication system. "All hands to battle stations, this is not a drill." His crew of 20 rushed to their positions as more explosions rocked the colony below. Morrison watched in horror as bright, blue beams lanced down from the alien ships, striking the school where his daughter Amy attended classes. The building vanished in a ball of fire. "Jake!" The voice belonged to Commander Sam Rodriguez calling from the colony's defense center. "We need immediate evacuation. They're targeting civilians first." Morrison grabbed the radio with shaking hands. "Sam, what's the situation down there?" "Bad and getting worse. These are Zephyrian ships, 3 destroyers. They hit the school, the hospital, and the marketplace first. They're not trying to capture anything. They want us all dead." Through the ship's sensors, Morrison could see people running through the streets below. Some were heading for the emergency shelters, but the alien weapons were too powerful. Each blast destroyed entire city blocks. "Sam, can your defense platform stop them?" "Negative. We have 4 platforms with outdated plasma cannons. They destroyed 2 already. Jake, you need to get whoever you can and run. Get back to Earth. Tell them what happened here." Morrison's hands moved across the control panels, bringing the Helena's engines online. The ship was designed to carry cargo and passengers, not fight wars. But it was fast, and right now speed was all that mattered. "Lisa," he called to his wife through the personal communicator. "Lisa, where are you?" Static answered him for several seconds before her voice came through broken and frightened. "Jake, I'm at the school. Amy's trapped under the rubble. I can see her, but I can't reach her." Morrison's world stopped. The school was gone. Nothing could have survived that blast. But Lisa was there, which meant she was in the kill zone when the next attack came. "Lisa, you have to leave now. Get to the nearest transport." "I won't leave her, Jake. She's still alive. I can hear her calling for me." Before Morrison could respond, another blue beam struck the school area. The explosion was so bright it overloaded the ship's sensors. When the light faded, there was nothing left but a smoking crater. Morrison stood frozen at the controls while his crew worked around him. His wife and daughter were gone, dead, murdered by aliens who had never even bothered to demand surrender. Captain, his first officer, Lieutenant Tim Garcia, grabbed his shoulder. "Sir, we have refugees boarding from the emergency shelters. 43 people so far." Morrison forced himself to focus. Other people needed him now. Other families who might still be saved. "How many ships got away?" "2 others besides us, sir. The cargo hauler Denver's Pride and the research vessel Explorer. Both are loading refugees." "What about the defense platforms?" "Commander Rodriguez is still fighting, but he's down to 1 platform. Sir, we need to leave now or we won't." "Leave it all." Morrison looked at the screen showing the colony below. Fires burned everywhere, bodies lay in the streets. The Zephyrian ships were methodically destroying every building, every vehicle, every sign that humans had ever lived on this world. "Jake," Rodriguez's voice crackled through the radio. Much weaker now. "Get out of here. That's an order. My last platform is about to go. I'm setting it to self-destruct. Maybe I can take one of these bastards with me." "Sam, no. Abandon the platform. We can pick you up." "Too late, my friend. Tell Earth what happened here. Tell them the Zephyrians don't want to conquer us. They want to exterminate us. Tell them." The radio went silent as a brilliant explosion erupted from the last defense platform. It struck one of the alien destroyers, but the ship's shields absorbed the blast without damage. Garcia was at Morrison's side again. "Sir, we have 112 refugees aboard. The other ships are full too. We have to go now." Morrison took one last look at the world where he had planned to retire, where his family had been building a new life. Now it was a graveyard. "All ships, this is Helena Actual. We are departing immediately for Earth. Stay together and watch for pursuit." The 3 human ships climbed away from New Denver as the Zephyrian destroyers continued their work below. Within an hour, every building was destroyed, every vehicle turned to scrap, every human settlement erased from the planet's surface. During the long journey back to Earth, Morrison walked through the refugee compartments. These were farmers, teachers, shopkeepers, children. None of them were soldiers. None of them had ever threatened anyone. They sat in shocked silence, still trying to understand why aliens had traveled across the galaxy just to murder their families. Young Billy Henderson, only 8 years old, tugged on Morrison's uniform. "Captain, why did they kill my mom and dad? We didn't do anything bad." Morrison knelt down beside the boy, struggling to find words. "I don't know, Billy, but I promise you something. The people who did this are going to pay for it." Mrs. Janet Foster, the colony's former school principal, overheard him. "Captain, with respect, what can we do? We saw their ships, their weapons. We're no match for them." Morrison stood up, and something had changed in his eyes. Something cold and hard that hadn't been there before. "Ma'am, you're thinking like a civilian. I'm thinking like a human. What's the difference? Civilians worry about odds. Humans don't care about odds when someone murders their children." When the 3 ships finally reached Earth, they carried more than just refugees. They carried video, recordings of the attack, testimonies from the survivors, and something else. They carried the first spark of something that would soon spread throughout human space. Morrison uploaded his report to Terran Defense Command and waited. Within hours, his personal communicator was buzzing with calls from news networks, government officials, and military commanders. Everyone wanted to hear about New Denver, but Morrison only answered one call. Admiral Kate Sullivan, commander of the Terran Defense Fleet. "Captain Morrison." Her voice was steady, but he could hear the controlled anger underneath. "I've seen your report. I need you to come to Defense Command immediately. We need to talk about what happens next." "Yes, ma'am." "Admiral, what are your orders?" Sullivan was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice carried a promise that made Morrison smile for the first time since the attack. "We're going to show these Zephyrians something, Captain. We're going to show them what humans do to species that murder our families. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood at the head of the long table in the Terran Defense Council chamber. Around her sat the most powerful people in human space: President Marcus Webb, Defense Secretary Linda Brooks, and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The wall screen's live feed showed angry crowds gathering outside government buildings on 12 different worlds. The footage from New Denver has been broadcast on every human colony, President Webb said, his face pale. People are demanding action. Some are calling for immediate retaliation. Sullivan activated the holographic display above the table. It showed the Zephyrian Empire's territory, a vast region of space containing 47 star systems. Mr. President, if we respond with conventional military tactics, we will lose. The Zephyrians have superior numbers and more advanced weapons. Defense Secretary Brooks leaned forward. Then what do you propose, Admiral? We can't just ignore the murder of 50,000 civilians. We don't ignore it, Sullivan replied. We respond as humans, not as a conventional military force. Dr. Alex Carter, head of military intelligence, stood up from his seat. I've completed my analysis of Zephyrian military doctrine. He activated his own display, showing alien ship formations and battle tactics. They fight like most species we've encountered. They seek quick, decisive victories. They expect their enemies to surrender when defeat becomes obvious. And humans don't do that, Sullivan added. Exactly, but there's more. The Zephyrians have never fought a species that views warfare as we do. To them, war is about conquering territory and resources. To humans, war can be about something much simpler. Revenge. President Webb looked confused. What's the difference? Carter changed the display to show human military history. Images of ancient battles, World War II, the Martian Independence War. When humans fight for territory, we calculate costs and benefits. We accept defeat when the price becomes too high. But when humans fight for revenge, especially for murdered innocents, we don't stop until the enemy is destroyed. Completely. You're talking about genocide, Secretary Brooks said quietly. No, Sullivan corrected. We're talking about the complete destruction of their military capability. The Zephyrians must learn that attacking human civilians has consequences they cannot escape. President Webb studied the star charts. What exactly are you proposing? Operation Longbow, Sullivan announced. Not an invasion or a conquest, a hunt. We identify every Zephyrian military installation, every warship, every weapons facility. Then we destroy them one by one until none remain. That could take years, Webb protested. Then it takes years, Sullivan replied without emotion. The message to the galaxy must be clear. Attack human civilians and we will hunt you to extinction. Dr. Carter brought up a new display showing Zephyrian technology. We have advantages they don't expect. Human adaptability is unmatched. We learn from every encounter. We improve our tactics constantly. Most importantly, we never give up. General Ben Hayes will command ground operations, Sullivan continued. Colonel Nick Turner will lead our first hunter-killer squadron. These won't be traditional military units. They'll be specialized teams designed for one purpose: finding and destroying Zephyrian military assets. President Webb was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. Admiral, if we do this, there's no going back. The galaxy will see humans as a threat. Mr. President, Sullivan said, the galaxy needs to see humans as a threat. Right now, they see us as victims. 50,000 dead civilians proves that. We need to become something the galaxy fears to attack. 3 days later, Colonel Nick Turner stood on the bridge of the stealth destroyer Retribution. His crew was unlike any in human military history. They were volunteers, every one of them. Veterans who had lost friends on New Denver, or simply humans who believed that some crimes could never be forgiven. Lieutenant Maya Patel checked her weapon systems one final time. She had been an asteroid miner before the war, using explosives to break apart rocks. Now she used those same skills to break apart alien ships. All weapons ready, Colonel. Sergeant Tony Wu monitored the captured Zephyrian equipment they had installed throughout the ship. Their communications are active. The listening post doesn't know we're here. Communications Officer Beth Clark listened to the alien transmissions with cold efficiency. Her brother had died trying to save children at the new Denver school. They're reporting normal status to their fleet command. No sign of human activity in this system. Turner studied the tactical display. The Zephyrian listening post was a small installation with only 20 personnel. It monitored hyperspace traffic and relayed intelligence back to the main fleet. It was also completely undefended. "This is our first target," Turner announced to his crew. "Our mission is to show the Zephyrians that nowhere in their empire is safe from human retaliation. We hit fast, we hit hard, and we leave no survivors." The Retribution moved through space like a ghost, its advanced stealth systems hiding it from Zephyrian sensors. Turner's team had trained for months, learning alien technology, studying enemy tactics, preparing for a new kind of warfare. "Colonel," Patel reported, "we're in position, weapons locked on target." "Communications?" Turner asked. "All alien transmissions jammed," Clark confirmed. "They can't call for help." Turner looked at his crew one final time. These people had volunteered to become something new in human history. Not soldiers fighting for territory or resources, but hunters seeking justice for the dead. Fire. The Retribution's weapons struck the listening post with devastating precision. The small station simply ceased to exist, vaporized in seconds. But Turner's mission was just beginning. Over the next 6 months, the pattern was repeated throughout Zephyrian space. Small installations, supply depots, communications relays. Each target was hit by human forces that appeared without warning and vanished just as quickly. The Zephyrian military was baffled. They were fighting an enemy that didn't want territory or resources. The humans simply destroyed military targets and disappeared. No demands for surrender, no negotiations. Just systematic destruction of everything related to Zephyrian military power. General Thak Moore, the Zephyrian fleet commander, sat in his command center studying reports from across the Empire. 17 installations destroyed. 3 advanced, warships captured. Dozens of smaller vessels simply vaporized, and the humans showed no signs of stopping. "General," his aide reported, "High Command is demanding an explanation. How can these primitive humans be causing such damage?" Thak Moore stared at the tactical displays showing human attack patterns. "Because we made a mistake. We thought they were like other species. We thought they would surrender when we showed them our strength." "Sir, these humans don't care about our strength. They don't care about odds or casualties or costs. They care about one thing, making us pay for New Denver." Thakmore turned to face his aide, and for the first time since the war began, the general looked afraid. "Sir, what do we do?" Thakmore looked at the reports again. Somewhere out there, human ships were hunting his forces with cold, methodical precision. "We pray that our leaders come to their senses and end this war before the humans decide to hunt us to extinction." Elder Vostol stood in the emergency session of the High Council, his scales flickering between angry red and fearful purple. The great hall that had once echoed with confident laughter now felt cold and empty. Around him, the remaining 6 elders stared at the tactical displays showing the destruction of their military forces. "How many installations have we lost?" Elder Nexquin asked, her voice barely above a whisper. General Thak Moore, standing at attention before the council, consulted his datapad. 37 facilities destroyed, elders. 8 warships captured or destroyed. Supply lines disrupted across 14 systems, and the humans show no signs of stopping. "This is impossible," Elder Zachmore declared. "They are primitives. They have only 17 colonies." "Elders," Thakmore said carefully, "I respectfully suggest that our initial assessment was incorrect. These humans fight unlike any species we have encountered. They do not seek territory or resources. They seek only destruction of our military capability." Vostul's scales turned bright red. "They are insects. We will crush them with overwhelming force." "Elder," Thakmore said, "I have a plan. We gather our entire fleet. Every ship, every weapon. We strike at their homeworld, at Earth itself. If we destroy their origin point, surely they will surrender." The elders looked at each other, their scales shifting through various colors as they communicated privately. Finally, Vostul spoke for them all. "Do it. Assemble the Doomsday Fleet. We will show these humans what happens when they dare to challenge the Zephyrian Empire. Far across the galaxy, Dr. Alex Carter sat in his intelligence center on Earth, surrounded by screens showing data from across human space. His network of spies and monitoring stations had grown during the war, now including contacts among several alien species who were quietly helping humanity. "Admiral," Carter called to Sullivan as she entered the room, "we've intercepted Zephyrian military communications. They're planning something big." Sullivan studied the decoded messages on Carter's screens. "They're gathering their entire fleet. Looks like they're planning to attack Earth directly." "Yes, ma'am. Our sources indicate they're calling it the Doomsday Fleet. Every major warship they have left, plus their new antimatter weapons." Sullivan smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. "Perfect. How long until they arrive?" 2 weeks, based on their hyperspace routes." Sullivan activated her communicator. "General Hayes, please report to intelligence immediately. It's time to spring our trap." When Hayes arrived, Sullivan laid out the plan that she and Carter had been developing for months. "Ben, the Zephyrians think Earth is lightly defended. They've seen our patrol schedules and defensive positions. What they don't know is that we've been lying to them." Carter brought up a display showing the solar system. "Every cargo ship and civilian transport they've detected is actually a warship in disguise. The mining stations in the asteroid belt are hidden military bases. Even the defensive platforms around Earth are much more powerful than they appear." "How many ships do we really have?" Hayes asked. "The entire Terran Defense Fleet," Sullivan replied, "plus Colonel Turner's hunter-killer squadrons, Captain Morrison's Revenge Fleet, and every other human military unit we can gather. When the Zephyrians arrive, they'll find themselves facing the largest military force in human history." 2 weeks later, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his new ship, the heavy cruiser New Helena. Around him, his crew of New Denver survivors worked with quiet efficiency. Each of them had lost family in the attack. Each of them had spent months training for this moment. "Captain," his weapons officer reported, "Zephyrian fleet detected at the edge of the system. 68 ships including their flagship." Morrison looked at the tactical display showing the approaching alien fleet. Somewhere among those ships was Elder Voss Tool himself, the creature who had ordered the destruction of New Denver. "All ships, this is Morrison," he broadcast to the hidden human fleet. "Remember why we're here. Remember New Denver. Today we show the galaxy what happens when someone murders human families." The Zephyrian Doomsday Fleet moved confidently toward Earth, their sensors showing exactly what they expected to see. A few outdated defense platforms, some patrol ships, nothing that could threaten their overwhelming force. Elder Voss Tool stood on the bridge of his flagship, the massive dreadnought Destiny of Velthara. "At last," he said to General Thakmor, "we will end this embarrassing conflict. These humans will learn to fear Zephyrian power." "Elder," Thakmor said nervously, "something feels wrong. Where are their defensive fleets?" "Hiding, like cowards," Voss Tool replied. "Or perhaps they have already fled their homeworld. No matter. We will destroy everything anyway." The Zephyrian fleet spread out as it approached Earth, preparing to begin orbital bombardment. Voss Toll smiled as he imagined the blue world burning below his weapons. Then Admiral Sullivan gave the signal. "All units, execute hammer fall. Repeat, execute hammer fall." Space around Earth erupted with ships. The cargo vessels dropped their disguises, revealing themselves as battlecruisers. The mining stations lit up with weapon arrays. Defense. Platforms that had seemed outdated suddenly bristled with the most advanced weapons humanity could build. But most shocking of all, ships began emerging from hyperspace all around the Zephyrian fleet. Colonel Turner's stealth squadrons had been hiding in nearby systems, waiting for this moment. Captain Louise Park's siege fleet dropped out of hyperspace behind the aliens. Morrison's Revenge Squadron appeared directly between the Zephyrians and Earth. "Impossible!" Voss Toll screamed as his tactical displays showed over 200 human ships surrounding his fleet. "Where did they come from?" General Thakmor stared at the displays in horror. "Elder, we are trapped. They have been planning this for months." The battle that followed became known as the Sol Massacre. The Zephyrian fleet, caught in a carefully prepared trap, fought desperately but hopelessly. Human ships attacked from every direction, using tactics and weapons that the aliens had never seen before. Morrison's ship New Helena drove straight at the Zephyrian flagship, weapons blazing. "This is for Lisa," he whispered as his guns tore through the alien ship's shields. "This is for Amy. This is for New Denver." The Destiny of Velthera tried to escape, but Turner's stealth ships cut off its retreat. Park's siege weapons pounded its armor while Morrison's revenge squadron closed in for the kill. Elder Voss Tool found himself face to face with something he had never experienced before. Defeat. "Surrender," he broadcast desperately. "We surrender." Morrison's voice answered him across the communication channels. "You didn't let the children of New Denver surrender. Why should we let you?" The last thing Elder Vostol saw was the New Helena's main guns firing directly at his bridge. The wreckage of the Zephyrian Doomsday Fleet floated silently around Earth. Broken ships and scattered debris told the story of the Sol Massacre. Only 12 Zephyrian vessels had escaped the trap, limping back toward their home systems with news of their complete defeat. General Takmor sat alone in his damaged command ship, staring at reports he could barely believe. 56 ships destroyed. Elder Vostol dead. The most powerful fleet in Zephyrian history reduced to floating scrap in less than 6 hours. "General," his communications officer called weakly. "High Command is requesting an immediate report." Thakmor looked at his young officer, noting the fear in the soldier's eyes. "Tell them the truth. Tell them we attacked Earth and discovered that humans are not the primitive species we believed them to be." On Earth, President Webb stood with Admiral Sullivan in the observation deck of Defense Command, watching the cleanup operations outside. Human ships moved between the alien wrecks, searching for survivors and salvaging technology. "Admiral," Webb said quietly, "the Zephyrian government is requesting immediate peace negotiations. They're offering complete surrender." Sullivan shook her head. "No, Mr. President, we're not done yet. Kate, we've destroyed their main fleet. Surely that's enough." "Sir, with respect, the Zephyrians need to understand something. When you murder human families, the consequences don't end with one battle. They need to learn that attacking our civilians means the complete destruction of their ability to ever threaten anyone again." Webb turned to face her. "You're talking about invading their home systems." "Yes, sir. General Hayes is already preparing the assault fleets. We're going to finish what they started at New Denver." Meanwhile, Captain Morrison walked through the refugee quarters of his ship, visiting the New Denver survivors who had witnessed the battle from the observation lounges. Billy Henderson, the 8-year-old boy who had lost his parents, ran up to Morrison with excitement. "Captain, did we get them? Did we get the bad aliens who hurt my mom and dad?" Morrison knelt down beside the boy. "We got some of them, Billy, but we're not finished yet. We're going to make sure they can never hurt anyone's family ever again." Mrs. Janet Foster approached Morrison, her face showing a mixture of satisfaction and concern. "Captain, I saw the battle reports. Those Zephyrian ships, they had families too, didn't they?" Morrison stood up, his expression hard. "Ma'am, the Zephyrians made a choice when they targeted our civilians. Every consequence that follows is on them, not us." 3 months later, the human invasion fleet arrived at Velthera, the Zephyrian homeworld. General Hayes commanded the tide assault from his flagship, the massive carrier Vengeance. Around him, 200 human ships prepared for the final phase of Operation Longbow. "General," Colonel Turner reported from his stealth squadron, "our reconnaissance teams have confirmed Zephyrian military positions. They have 40 defense platforms and 200 remaining ships." "Any civilian evacuation?" Hayes asked. "Yes, sir. The Zephyrian government has moved all non-military personnel to the southern continent. Their military forces are concentrated around the capital city." Hayes nodded approvingly. Despite their anger, humans still followed the laws of war. Military targets only. No civilians would be harmed. "All ships, this is Hayes. Begin the final assault." The Battle of Velthara lasted 3 days. The Zephyrian military, demoralized by months of defeats and the loss of their main fleet, fought with desperation but little coordination. Human forces, now equipped with captured alien technology and months of combat experience, moved through their defenses like a knife through paper. Captain Foster led the ground assault teams that secured the military command centers. His soldiers found Zephyrian officers destroying records and equipment, trying to prevent human forces from capturing their remaining technology. "Secure all data systems," Foster ordered his troops. "We need to know the location of every Zephyrian military installation in the galaxy." Commander Park's siege specialists systematically destroyed the orbital defense platforms, while Morrison's squadron eliminated the last of the Zephyrian fleet. By the end of the third day, Zephyrian military power had ceased to exist. General Thakmor, now the highest-ranking surviving Zephyrian officer, met with General Hayes in the ruins of the military command center. The alien general's scales had turned a pale gray, the color of defeat and despair. "General Hayes," Thakmor said in broken English, "my government wishes to formally surrender. We will accept any terms you offer." Hayes looked at the defeated, alien commander with cold eyes. "General, your surrender was never the goal. Our goal was to ensure that Zephyrian military forces could never again threaten human civilians. That goal has been achieved. What happens to my people now? Your civilian population will be protected under human oversight. Your military forces are disbanded permanently. Any attempt to rebuild your war machine will result in immediate human intervention." Thakmor bowed his head. "I understand. General, may I ask you something?" "What?" "Why did you spare our civilians? Your people had every right to seek complete revenge." Hayes was quiet for a moment before answering. "General, we're not monsters, we're humans. We fight to protect our families, not to become like those who attack them." 5 years later, Ambassador Sarah Mitchell stood before the Galactic Council, addressing representatives from 43 different species. The Great Hall was silent as she delivered humanity's message to the galaxy. The Zephyrian Empire attacked human civilians without provocation or warning, Mitchell said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "They murdered 50,000 innocent people, including children. The human response was swift, thorough, and final." She activated a holographic display showing the 17 former Zephyrian star systems, now under human protection. "These worlds are peaceful now. Their people live without fear of their former military leaders. Trade is flourishing. Art and science are advancing." An alien delegate raised a tentacle. "Ambassador, many species view humanity's actions as excessive. You destroyed an entire military empire." Mitchell's expression hardened. "When someone attacks your children, excessive becomes necessary. We gave the galaxy a simple lesson. Leave human civilians alone, and humans will be your greatest allies. Harm our innocent people, and we will hunt you until you no longer have the ability to threaten anyone." The hall remained silent. Every species present had heard the stories. Humans who never stopped fighting. Humans who turned warfare into an art form when seeking justice. Humans who could be the kindest friends or the most relentless enemies in the galaxy. Admiral Morrison, now commander of the Memorial Fleet at New Denver, received Mitchell's broadcast in his quarters aboard the flagship Remember Them. Through his window he could see the memorial monument on the planet below, its surface covered with the names of 50,000 civilians. At the base of the monument, carved in letters large enough to be seen from orbit, were the words that had become humanity's promise to the galaxy. They were warned. "Never attack humans. We don't stop hunting." Morrison smiled as he read those words. The galaxy had learned. In 5 years, not a single species had attacked human civilians. The lesson of New Denver and the price paid by the Zephyrians had spread throughout known space. Humanity was no longer seen as weak prey. They were recognized as what they had always been, the most dangerous species in the galaxy when their families were threatened, and that reputation would keep human children safe for generations to come.